Shouts out Big Steve.
Shout out Mikey B. UFC Vegas 108 early tees. We're looking at some early odds. And we're going to look at some PFL, right? I'm a day late, and that's because top to bottom, this card looks pretty shithouse. Generally, when I scan the card top to bottom, I know what I want to tape first. There's odds sticking out. We even have totals, and honestly, nothing is sticking out. So I'm like, I don't have any interest in looking at this shitty card, but why not? You know, I have some time. I will look into PFL, maybe going over it, talking about it live, you know, doing a little bit of wiki capping, forcing myself to look at it a bit deeper before tape will give me some spots. But otherwise, so far, I've just been focusing on regionals. So let's get into it. Let's look at the odds. Leave something in comments. Let's get chatting. Let's see if we can find some good spots. Right? It's been a good July, the best July of the year. Almost 7 units for myself. So still short of the 10, but we're going to keep on going. All right. Contender series is starting. I'm getting antsy. You know, generally I make more on Contender series than I do on UFC every year, but last 2 years have been a bit underwhelming for myself. So we're going to have a good August, good September. It's written in the stars. So let's start with PFL. It is a high-level card. Odds have been out for a while. It's a championship, welterweight and featherweight. And then we'll go into the UFC, right? So the first fight, Matt Turnbull, Tom Pagliaro. I have no idea who these guys are. Let me do a little wiki cap. And then move on, I guess. What am I meant to say? Old mate, anaconda choke, blah, 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 blah. No idea. What about Tom Pagliaro? This guy's a massive favorite. He's got a loss to Murad, a loss to Garib. That can't be good. But he's a massive favorite. I guess he's knocked out Elijah Harris, knocked out Don Shainis. This is probably going to be an unders type of fight, right? With a really bad underline. Don't know. Let's move on. Damon Nelson versus Isaiah Diggs. I know Diggs, right? The first time I taped him is when he was a big underdog to Toro, a bit of an ape of a man that just fought on Fury FC, and he wrestled him. He's 5-0 now. How long ago was that fight? 4 fights ago. And he's won every fight since. And even beat Pana Alamov, you know, in his debut. I think that's why I liked him. Pana Alamov, you know, not the best guy, just got knocked out. But yeah, it's a massive favorite against the perennial underrated guy, Damien Nelson. This guy has busted a few parlays. You know, he was a big size underdog to Travis Demko. Well, I don't know if he was, but probably no odds there. Tony Toro, we just spoke about him, and Nelson beat him as well. So Tony Toro dropping the ball a little bit in Fury as a favorite. Don Shainis, he knocked him out. Nathan Kelly, I remember some people bet him against Kelly. He was a big underdog, plus 250, $3.50, and it was quite competitive. You know, he's a good boxer. He can kind of, you know, stifle the grapplers, the grappling game plan. A bit of a salty record, but he's improved. 8-4 now. He was like 4-4 at one point. So good on him. He might be improving. What's his age? 32? Yeah, he might be coming into his own. So, I mean, I'm not really into parlaying someone like Diggs, even though he's good. You know, at the end of the day, this is still regionals, inexperienced regionals. It's a dog or pass for me. You know, someone has been in my ear about Nelson for a while now. The line hasn't moved, so I might have to tape that one first in terms of PFL. Alrighty. Sarek Shields, Nick Meck. Shields coming off a big upset over old mate from Australia. What's his name? Italian, Aussie guy, grappler. Bit of a raider. Joseph Luciano, that's it. And now he's getting Nick Meck, who's another grappler. Nick Meck, I think he just recently fought. That's right, he ran through Alan Dominguez. Both grapplers. Grappler versus grappler. What are the odds here? I'm not too sure about this one. PFL? PFL? Should be close. Wow, we don't even have odds. I guess we'll wait on this one then. I think he should be close. I think Mac kind of slows down a bit. Mac can be grappled himself. And he's lost to wrestlers before. JP St. Louis and Kevin Pace, however the hell you pronounce his name. So, you know, and Sarek Shields gets knocked out a lot. Mac has underrated power. Interesting fight, man. I think this should be around pick 'em. We'll see what the odds open up when we actually get him. Nathan Kelly versus Frederick Dupras. Dupras just made his debut. This guy's the biggest gilly merchant there is. Insane technique on his guillotine, it should be said. And yeah, I mean, usually round one, that last fight on UAE Warriors, he submitted Jesse Arnett. That was his best win. The rest were just kind of bums. And he went into round two and he hit this guillotine that was like, he was basically inside control bottom and he still got it. He did a high elbow where it made Arnett roll into a more tighter spot and he finished him. So I was like, man, this guy's guillotine's the next level. He did get knocked out by this bum in 51 seconds. So I regret passing on the under 1.5 rounds against Gabriel Braga, but essentially he had a really deep guillotine on Braga and then Braga submitted him. So it's like, it seems a bit of a glass cannon. You know, he can be knocked out, he can be submitted. I understand why money is coming on Nathan Kelly because the guy is, you know, kill or be killed. He's got punches, he's got submissions, a ton of round one finishes. He's very explosive. You know, he's the last guy to beat old mate Shamrock. You know, blitzed through him in round one. And then, you know, just a lot of submissions, a lot of finishes. Even this Ahmed Magomedov, the guy that beat him in round two via rear naked choke, he dropped him bad in round one. And then obviously he was dropped by Kim and finished via rear naked choke. So this is like glass cannon versus glass cannon. And honestly, to me, it should be pick'em. I don't really know how people can back Kelly after 2 back-to-back losses. You know, I always thought he's a fraud, but now we have visual evidence that he's a fraud. So I'm just, you know, even though I favor the dog here, I'm just waiting for the under because I feel like why risk my money on a fight that's potentially a pick'em shootout against two non-durable guys, right? Let's go through the comments. Shady, shout out Shady. On the road, driving to Corpus Christ for a fiber optic. Double time. That's it, mate. Keep working for that money. Nick Rodriguez. So we got Pinedo. We'll keep on listening, Nick. Shady, this card is super juicy. Correct. This one and the UFC. Blum Dog, what's up? Blum Dog, what's up, Big Steve? Did you catch Ryzen? As much as I could. Ryzen is at a perfect time. It's on a Sunday afternoon. But that shit goes on for so long. It basically starts at 2 p.m. and sometimes doesn't end by midnight. It's crazy. And it's usually after the UFC and I'm usually burnt out. So because I didn't have any bets, I wasn't too keen on watching. But yeah, I'll tend to catch it. You know, it was actually really, really hard to find the stream, so they just made it really almost impossible to watch. So I will generally catch Ryzen, but not this week too much. I was just watching the highlights on Twitter. Hussein Karamagev, blah blah blah, whatever versus Carl Driscoll. Driscoll, this guy was on one of the original Contender series. He's got a wrestling background. He's a bit inactive. Carl Driscoll, pardon, not Driscoll. And you know, he beat James Lynch via KO. He lost to George Hardwick in round 4. He did better than expected. How far away was Contender Series? 2020. That must be one of the first seasons, man. Or second season. He was a minus 200 favorite. He won. Didn't get signed. He's good. He's good. This Hussein guy is a bit of a, I'm not going to say fraudulent, but he's not the best guy. He lost to Zafar Mohsen in his PFL debut as a huge favorite, 1,200 minus 1,200, huge favorite. And you know, you can give him a little bit of a pass because his opponent was done for roids in PFL. Other than that, you know, he's got these other no contests. You know, he got knocked out by Kim, who we just spoke about in Brave. He might have some issues with gassing and losing later down the stretch. So it's Kyle Driscoll a pass. I mean, minus 200, what are you going to do with that? It's not worth it. It's not worth the price. I'll have to do some more tape. Jakub Kasuba versus Sergio Casio. I mean, Kasuba, the winner of PFL Europe, is a massive ape. And he's actually fighting a Mexican ape. But Kasuba, you know, round 4 ground and pound. He almost got knocked out by Connor Hughes. He's won some of these weaselly slim margin fights. As I said, he loves to grapple. Casio, what's Casio been up to? That's right, he beat Romero as a huge underdog, 325, and he got knocked out by Derek Sanders, which is a bit of a red flag. Maybe the under will be sneaky here. Pardon me, there's something scratchy in my throat. Hopefully I didn't swallow some glass or something. Very, 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 very interesting fight. We'll look into that one. Alrighty. Jordan Newman versus Abdul Basset. So Jordan Newman, we jumped on him and live bet him. Live bet him multiple times in his last Bellator fight against Aliyev. And, he was a decent sized underdog there. And Aliyev, quite overrated, quite one-dimensional. Once he shut him down, he outstruck him quite easily. And now he's coming back. And he's improving. He's got some striking to his game. He's only 30. And he's a massive, massive favorite against Basset. This Basset guy, he had a good record, 16 and 16 and 2 at one point, and then got knocked out by Mike Shipman. He seems to have some chin issues, right? He lost to Jat Milan, another grappler in Aries long time ago. He beat, Laid Zahouni, who is just kind of killing it in KSW right now, knocking everyone out, but he has bad takedown defense. And Zahouni has knocked him out, did drop him multiple times, but then he just got grinded out. So he is a grinder. This Robin Roos fight is decent, but Newman at $1.10, I mean, I get it. He's not as shitty. He's younger. He can probably stifle the grappling. $1.10, no thanks. I mean, what am I going to do with that? Got any other comments? Sunny Farts, you made it. Yes, you sure did. Nick Rodriguez. Buchecha and Leal fucked me up. I mean, that's the consensus. Honestly, those are the two that I would have parlayed if I did a parlay, and they both would have fucked me up. Blom Dog says, so long. Thank you. Thank you, my friend. It's not that long, but I'll take the compliment. Asal Ajuj versus Yves Landu. Yves, always underrated. He's like almost 40, but he's very athletic. He's a decent-sized underdog generally. Let me have a look. What is he, 40 years old? 38, almost. He beat Jonas Ballerino, which is impressive. Kobayashi, both by split. Yeah, he's good, man. He's on 1, 2, 3, 4 fight win streak. Not bad. These 38-year-olds, French dudes, they're going strong. Ajuj is an animal. People always trying to fade this guy for some reason, and he was losing that Jose Perez fight and won via guillotine. Before that, he ran through Bruno Fontes. I know people playing Fontes. The guy's extremely slow and plodding, so it was always going to be tough. I have to look into this one, but again, right off the bat, I'm not playing minus 200 on Ajuj, so we can move on. And here we go, the two best fights. Movlid Kabulai versus Jesus Pinedo and Thad Jean Logan Storley. So after watching the first fight of the season for Movlid, almost getting knocked out by Jeremy Kennedy, I was like, I'm going to fade him with Kim. He fought Kim in the last round, and I didn't go big or anything. It was just a tiny little poke. The tape was concerning because Kim has been grappled many times in Brave. Hussein did it to him, and then he got knocked out. And Bagatov, who was in the UFC, did it to him for like 5 rounds, and he lost the split. So it's like, all right, Movlid's not going to have any issues taking him down, right? He's a bit noodly. But it's just, and I was like, what if Movlid looks a little bit better? What if he was compromised in the first fight? He was a long layoff. What if he looks a bit better? And he did. Honestly, Movlid, in my opinion, looked much, much better. Not only on the ground, but on the feet. He was landing big shots. He looked so explosive, so dangerous. I'm like, yeah, this is a bad bet. There's nothing Old Mate can do. So now we're getting Pinedo, probably the best guy to fade, or the best guy to have a chance to knock out Movlid. But with how good Movlid looked, and Pinedo now, he was a pick against Adam Borix, and I had my finger on the clicker there, and I didn't do it. And then it was a decent-sized favorite versus Braga, another striker that he's beat. Beat the last time via KO. First time was a split. I could have beat him there too. And now he's, trending towards the same price against the best guy that he's ever fought. Right? No, he's never fought anyone like Movlid. After that, you can say Bubba Jenkins is the closest in terms of grappling and athleticism, but he stuffed a lot of Bubbas in round 1, hurt him multiple times. Bubba's just got really bad cardio, so if you hurt him early, it's just downhill from there, right? And then, just a bunch of strikers after that, and some durable strikers too, so I do think he can knock him out, but I just don't know how I feel about this line. The best guy he's fought, and at one of the worst lines, potentially. There's going to be grappling here. There's going to be grappling. Movlid is a better grappler than Jenkins. He's got better cardio. He has been knocked out a bunch, right? Well, I shouldn't say a bunch, but he got knocked out by Daniel Pineda, cold. no contest because Pineda was on the sauce. I think he was hurt by Andre Harrison at the end of round 1 as well, and he survived, and then he ended up getting a draw in that fight. I've taped this guy a bunch of times. I went back to his regionals because all these PFL fights are just boring and domination, sniffing domination. But he has been hurt before, so... And then we've seen, just recently, Jeremy Kennedy hurt him in round 1, so... I get what people are playing. Jesus Pinedo, he is probably the guy that's the A side, surprisingly. He's younger, hasn't had many injuries. He's in his prime, 29. He's just running through everyone, via KO. He seems to have the aura about him, but I'd rather just play the under at plus 140, whatever it is. But it could be annoying. It could be tilting because the Bubba Jenkins fight went over and he almost had him out of there many, many times. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm not really feeling the underdog lead just because I feel like it's going to be a sniffing fight with minimum damage. What does Nick Rodriguez say? It's time for Mavleed to lose badly. Mavleed won't finish if he wins. Well, you never know, man. You never know. He almost knocked out Jeremy Kennedy. He finished Tyler Diamond. He actually has power and he actually has submissions, but he just... When he chooses to go for control-based, then yeah, he doesn't really sniff anything. Honestly, it's a favorite or pass, but it feels a bit mushed. When the whole public sees the same thing, not just sharp people, I don't know. Let me see. I'll wait for some buyback on Mavleed. And we got the main event, Tadjin versus Logan Storley. This was going to be an interesting fight when he got matched. I couldn't really think what they were going to line it. Minus 200 on Tadjin. I don't know about that. He just squeaked past Jason Jackson, who was predominantly wrestling. And Jackson, could have kept it competitive if he struck a bit more. I mean, he still was competitive, split decision. Logan Storley is a different beast in terms of just shooting and reshooting consistently. He's a bit slim margins. Kikuri looked like he was going to come back and win a round or two because he was landing more. He started to stuff some takedowns in round 2 and 3, but Logan still got him down. Don't know. Tadjin is still a little bit green. You could see that in the Jason Jackson fight. Although beating Jason Jackson, who's a veteran, 19-5 at only 9-0. He's leveling up, that's for sure. How old is he now? 27. Don't know. Not really feeling minus 200 on Tadjin. Like, I was happy to play that against that fraud, Mohammed Berkamov, but Logan Storley, it's a bit of a different story, so I'm going to leave it for now. I'm going to leave it. Pinedo's on a tear. Sure is, Blonde Dog. If Logan loses, it's over for him. I mean, in what sense? They sure love Tadjin in PFL, but he kind of sucks. I don't know about that, man. Hard to say that he sucks. Dude's 10-0. He's quite good. I love when NCAA champions lose by a beating. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it happens. That's it. Honestly, I'm just waiting for some totals on this card. That's where I'm at. Damon Nelson probably has the most value. I'll look into that. We don't even know what Sarek Shields, Meck is. Dupras, look at some unders. Carl Driscoll, probably some value. Pineda maybe, and I'm waiting on the co-main and main. Alrighty, let's get into the UFC. It's why we're all here. What a card this is. Really struggling for motivation to look at this shit. I don't want to let it go by and not look at some early odds early, but also, I don't want to burn out by forcing a shitty card. But let's get into it, right? Austin Bashi, John Yanis. Didn't even realize this was on until right now. That's cool. I doubt we have odds. Bashi's probably going to be a decent-sized favorite. John Yanis, this guy's from Fury UFC. Knocked out Nick Aguirre. Knocked out CJ Jimenez. Yeah, he's a bit of a can crusher. Yeah. I mean, Bashi's going to be a massive favorite. Massive favorite. There's no point even looking at the odds. Let's move on. Maybe the under will be good because Giannis has been submitted by Gabriel Vanderlei only last year with the rear naked choke. So we'll see. Let me just get my odds up. Go back to UFC. Dogfather. Taraji Fight Week. That's right. We've got some boxing tomorrow. I've been looking into it. I've been looking into the co-main and main. That Taraji fight's going to be insane. Nothing I'm confident in terms of value right now. Potentially like the dogs, potentially like some unders, but we'll see. I don't like to force boxing, I'll stick to what I'm good at. Piera Rodriguez, Caitlin Souza. Right, Piera Rodriguez, close to minus 200. What could go wrong? The girl that had a squash match and just had herself disqualified because she kept headbutting. She looked massive favorite against Josephine Knudsen, I'll give her that. Looked massive favorite against Cornolle, Julian Robertson, different animal. Same Hughes, quite close. Kay Hansen, quite close. I faded her both times there, lost money. Basically 29-28. But she did look really good against Knudsen, but that girl can be taken down. I need to tape this one. I know sharp people on both sides of the coin here. Caitlin Souza, I know a lot of people played Angela Hill at Pick'em. They thought a veteran in Hill should be favored much more, but I just had the feeling it's like, what if this is the time that Angela Hill slows down because she's 40 years of age? And that's how it looked like. Ended up being a split decision. And, Hill was almost 0-2 in the UFC. She lost to Dupras, unanimous, and she was about to lose to Caitlin Souza, who I don't think is really close to the ranking, in my opinion. So, minus 200, I already know I'm not going to like it. So maybe I'll be on the other side. I think my sharp friend Dogfather was on the dog, so we'll see. There's varying opinions on this one. Nick thinks Piera by domination, maybe. Icelandic Farts, the under will be 1.5. I assume you're talking about Bashi versus Yanis. I don't know if it will be 1.5, my friend. Because Bashi goes over a lot. He's obviously insanely durable, and he also has great submission defense, being from that background. He's gone over a bunch. Pipe Vargas, a lot of his fights early went over. His contender series went over by 45 seconds. Obviously, C-Rod fight went over. Don't know. You're probably right, actually. It's probably going to be under pipe 1.5, and it's going to be Pick'em, which will be accurate. You basically give Bashi 7.5 minutes to submit him at 50% chance. What about this fight? This fight's going to be juiced to the over. I don't even care. If this fight's not juiced to the over, 2.5 rounds. No thanks. Interesting fight here. Felipe Bunes, Rafael Estevam. I mean, I like Bunes. He's better than his record indicates. He's really good. He was in ACA, just battling it out with some high-level Russians, and he's got really high-level jiu-jitsu, and he's got power in his hands as well. But he's old. He's 35 and a bit hittable, a bit gassy. He submitted Jose Johnson with a really high-level armbar, which has impressed me. Sorry, something wrong with my nose. I got kneed last night by accident. It's fucking killing me. And Josh Rand was all right. Knocked out Yuma Hariuchi with a freaking spinning wheel kick. I mean, this is why I didn't like this card. Like, so much chalk. Rafael Estevam, I think, has potential to be ranked. He just swamps guys with grappling. Great jiu-jitsu, great grappling, great ground and pound. It's a recipe for him to just break through Felipe Bunes, like knock him out. Or he fought another gassy wrestler in Joe Elias on Contender Series, and he just broke him. He ran through him. So what's the under here? I do remember I donated to the under against Jose Jesus Aguilar, but that was a bit forced. I felt that was forced because, Aguilar insanely durable, and his path is basically a guillotine. So the under 2.5 rounds is plus 120. Okay. We could see that happen. Maybe we just doesn't go the distance because it's, the Estevam, it's going to be an attritional ground and pound later on down the line. He really doesn't have any finishes over 2.5 rounds. That could be it. That under has my attention. Nick, Bunes lives in my neighborhood. Yeah, you're from Brazil, right? What area of Brazil, mate? You in the favelas? Let me know. Rodolfo Vieira, Treyshawn Gold. What a fight. Don't even know where to start with this one. Vieira's minus 200. I guess he's more proven. Gore is actually not a bad grappler. He's got really good, solid wrestling, I should say. He's got power. He's got that guillotine that, he's submitted 2 black belts back-to-back, Josh Friend and Tricoli with. Am I saying he's going to submit Rodolfo Vieira with it? Definitely not. but it's just a weird fight. Rodolfo Vieira just got shut down by Andre Petroski, which in hindsight makes sense because Petroski is a good wrestler. So, he's a hard guy to back, but really I should have played him there because it's not like Vieira striking is that great. Can the same thing happen here? Trey Shangos, sprawl and brawl. He's got more power than Petroski. He's definitely less retarded, although he is untrustworthy as well. Cody Brundage almost knocked out Vieira. Alan Petrosian, that was an easy win. Petroski, Chris Curtis shut him down. Dustin Stolfitz was competitive until round 3. It's interesting. I mean, it's a dog or pass. Rodolfo minus 200, forget it. This just seems like a don't-touch fight, in my opinion. Under 1.5 rounds, don't know. Like, how does this play out? Under 1.5 rounds. All right, let's just move on. It's making me sick thinking about it. Rinya Nakamura, Nathan Fletcher. Alrighty. So this is interesting one again. Rinya, massive favorite. Dropped the ball against Gaffarov. Man, I played some Gaffarov KO in that fight. Oh, and it made me sick. Huge numbers. Made me sick. How many knockdowns Gaffarov landed and couldn't get him out of there. But it did look like Rinya had an insane chin, Asian chin, and that just proved it. Nathan Fletcher is just a bit more weak, soy. He doesn't possess the power of Gaffarov. I don't think he's athletic or as physical either. Lost to Longren. I played Longren live there, and I think I got away with it. It seemed like a split round 3. When it goes to split decision, you can just give up any hope, and it's in the hands of randomness. You're either winning or losing, and you can't be mad. I got away with that one, but I mean, is he going to get any wrestling on Rinya? Probably not. I understand why he's the massive underdog. I see some people want to fight him because of what happened with Gaffarov, but it's a different fight, man. Completely different fight. Gaffarov shits all over Nathan Fletcher. Maybe this is the first parlay piece. $1.25, that's a disgusting number. But what are the unders? Unders, yeah, it makes sense that it's juiced to the over. Rinya, doesn't really finish anyone with a pulse. Fernie Garcia, Carlos Vieira, he really doesn't. But these Cage Warriors guys have proven to be a bit cocky, a bit soft, a bit weak. Maybe Rinya can knock him out. Nick Rodriguez is from Natal, Northwest, middle working class, not favelas. Well, how boring. Middle class is so boring. Sorry, Nick. I'd rather be you were in favelas, poor. You give more interest to your character. Brundage was working Vieira before he jumped Gilly. He sure was. Brundage is not bad, man. Brundage just wings overhands. He's very explosive, but he's just stupid. Riding high, how are you, sir? I'm leaning Gore. Well, I'm leaning Gore too because minus 200 on Rodolfo. Forget it. Can Rinya knock out or he wins a decision? He can do both. I'm so mad at BJJ guys. Yeah, BJJ guys are gay. All of them. Myself included. Alrighty. Nick Klein, Andre Pulev. So here's the first bet that everyone is on, right? Pulev was minus 2, pick him, and it's just, it keeps on going. I know at least 3 people on it. My boy Pepe and Dog are on it. And I said I'm going to jump on these bloody collab plays with them too because they tend to work out. Right? I regretted not betting Paulo Costa against Kopilov. I was on Ochoa against Durden, but in a different perspective. I didn't go on money line. I went on no scorecards. But that should have been like a max bet because I didn't give Durden any finishing upside over Ochoa. And, now, so I taped this because I'm like, all right, this is my chance to get on the collab with the lads. And I taped 2 fights of Puliev, and I just remembered, I liked him a lot versus Liam Anderson as a dog. I'm like, why is he such a big dog? He's not bad on tape. And I passed there because that was one of my worst streaks ever. That was last year when I reduced my units from 2,000 to 500. Bad time. Worst times ever for myself. So I just didn't have the courage to play anything. And I passed, and he, won a clear unanimous decision. And then I was like, look, he was a massive underdog against Christian Leroy Duncan. $3.40, $4.40. And I'm like, man, Christian Leroy Duncan is extremely overrated. there has to be some value. And then my friend played him. I'm like, I'm going to look into that. And I'm like, I can't do it. There's something about Puliev, even though he looks like he passes the eye test, he's like a clean striker, good footwork, spams the body kicks, he fights long. There's something off about him, like he's soft. He's soft, hittable, and maybe mentally weak. And I passed there, and then Christian Leroy Duncan just, it didn't seem like he ever got out of the first gear, and Puliev was just running away. He didn't do anything. Whenever he threw, he looked scared, and then Duncan almost knocked him out. End of round 3 with like 20 seconds to go when he actually let his hands go. So neither of them covered themselves in glory. It just showed me that whatever I thought was wrong with Puliev was there on tape still. It just, I think Duncan's doesn't have any ranking potential or anything, but he never was in that fight. And I'm just like, I can't do it. I can't bet this guy at minus money. Right. I taped Nick Klein, and I watched his fight against Doran Dokaj. I think that guy's Albanian. He got finished in round 3. He was losing all the minutes of that fight. And it's like, oh, I get it. But then I also remember being a massive underdog to Geraldo Souza and coming through. And it's like, I think he's improving. I also remember him doing much better against Abdul Malik than people gave him a chance until he finally got finished in round 2. So, another under 1.5 rounds that Malik busted. I wasn't on that one, thank goodness. 2 is enough for me. I might not ever be on another under 1.5 with Malik, but we'll see. I faded my boy Dushko under 1.5 and that hit. But yeah, I feel like Nick's improving. I feel like both these guys are improving. Puliev and Nick's improving, but I think Nick is a bit more physical, a bit more strong, athletic, whereas Puliev just seems like a noodle to me. He's going to stick and move, and he's going to be hittable, whereas Nick might land something. If he takes him down, I don't know. This is a shit show. I only take 2 fights, and I moved on. Obviously Pickham's not there anymore. So I'm like, what? Why am I taping? What, am I going to play Puliev at freaking 60%, 65%? I don't think so. These guys kind of actually seem well matched. So I moved on. But there's more tape to be done on that one. That's the only one I kind of taped a bit because of the line movement, but there's more tape to be done, to be honest. I'm not rushing. My reads are good, original reads. If I don't think there's value there, I move on. 1.5 rounds. I mean, not really interested in that. Puliev, he's just a nutritional type of guy. He himself can be finished under, and Nick Klein generally does like to get his finishes under as well, but he's got decisions as well. Don't know. Maybe 2.5 rounds would be good here. All right, we're on to the main card. That was quick. Danny Silva versus Kevin Vallejos. This is a bit disrespectful. Danny Silva and Vallejos have the same archetype of a fighter. Come forward, brawl, quite durable, quite hittable. I'll say Vallejos has potentially more power and a better chin. And that's about it. And for that reason, this line to be that much towards him is insane. We had a good under 1.5 rounds against super chinny Sung Wong Choi, and he handled him accordingly. He did what he had to do. And now, he's a massive, massive favorite. I also think it's because he had a close fight with Gene Silva, which is aging well. He won one of the rounds. Or he didn't get knocked out by him. He ran through Cam Teague. Danny Silva, split decision with Lucas Almeida. He kind of compromised there. Split decision with Josh Kulibauer. He really should have done better there. It was hurting Josh Kulibauer. I guess he's one of these guys that, when Kevin Vallejos hurts you, he runs through you, whereas Danny Silva, he lets guys back into the fight. Even this Angel Pacheco fight was a war. He was beating the shit out of Pacheco, and then he let him back into it. I mean, but I'm not. I ain't laying this chalk on Kevin Vallejos. It's crazy. Kid's still 23 years of age. It's unproven. What are the totals here? It's going to be a tricky total because both these guys are extremely durable and at the same time extremely hittable. It's going to be chalk to the... Well, the under 2.5 rounds is minus money, $1.65. I hate that. I don't like that. They're both durable, so... I'm going to move on. It sucks as this is the card where the totals are bad as well. Not just money lines, but... I was hoping that the totals would give me some easy bets. Neil Magny versus Zaleski. Oh, what do we do here? The battle of the washed welterweights, 37 versus 38. You know, I love these fights. Neil Magny, I mean, if he lost that split decision to Phil Rowe, he would have been, 4 in the last 5 lost, with the only win coming to Mike Malott, which, well, 1 minute away from losing that one too. Epic stunt by Mike Malott. Beat him in every facet of the game. Wrestling, striking, jiu-jitsu domination on top. If he didn't go for that guillotine in the end, he probably would have won. But that's what Magny does. Magny's an absolute weasel. Michael Morales ran through him. I mean, Carlos Prates ran through him. That under 2.5 rounds at minus 200. Wow. Why did I not put all my life savings on that? I only had like 1.5 units. So I guess Zaleski has all the finishing upside here. That's why he's a favorite. He did buzz Chitty. Zach Scoggins, he ran through him. Randy Brown, that was back and forth, 29-28, which is probably better than Neil Magny could do. Renat Fakhretdinov, that was a draw, but he really should have knocked him out in round 3. I thought that was 1-1, and he should have won round 3. That's a shame. Abubakar, Zaleski is old, but he still has it. He's definitely washed a bit, but I don't think he's as washed as Neil Magny, so that's why he's minus 200. But again, I don't want to lay minus 200 on a 38-year-old Zaleski. That's the thing. This card is just sickening. Sickening. Over 2.5 rounds, a little bit better than minus 200. I'm not interested in that either. Disgusting. What do we got? Nick. Klein seems more athletic. I do agree with that. I think he is. Moisadia, what's up? Face turquoise speak shape. Indeed. I think that was meant to be an emoji, my friend, but keep trying. Give it another whirl, I guess. Carol Rosa, Nora Cornolle. I mean, speaking of disgusting fights, it's the second female fight. And I hate it. Carol Rosa, minus money. What did she do? Let me wiki cap. Lost to Aline Perez. That was a bit of a stunt. I faded her against Penny Kanza. That just beat the shit out of Penny. She's good, but she's bad. Like, she has very good hardware for a woman and has power, good leg kicks. But she also has a woman IQ, which minus 200. But Cornolle lost to Haley lost the first round to Haley Cowan, then came back, submitted her. She's a striker by trade. Split decision to Jacqueline Cavalcanti, which is aging okay, but that honestly was not a split. Knocked out Melissa Mullins. Beat Jocelyn Edwards. Like this, these are some good aging wins. How the hell is she 3-1 in the UFC? I guess she deserves a ranking opponent because despite Rosa's being ranked and Nora not, I think they're closer in skills than people might think. But yeah, it's a dogger pass. Dogger pass. Lie bet Carol if you have to. Cornolle, she's now grappling, has that grappling path. Disgusting fight. Am I going to tape it? I can't promise anything. Let's move on. Esteban Ribovics, Elvis Brener. Great fight. At least from a viewing perspective, this should be a great fight. I had Ribovics as an underdog to Elvis Brener, and now we're getting him as a $1.35 favorite after coming off a loss to Nasrat Haqparast. I mean, what to do here? They're forcing my hand on Elvis Brener, who's looked like shit, versus Joel Alvarez. I thought he might have a chance to beat Joel. Never sniffed it. Never got close. Got brutally knocked out in round 3. I don't know. He just kind of seems... He's only 27, but this guy has taken an astronomical amount of damage. I don't know. Like, I'm not going to parlay Ribovics. It's not my style. Like, if I'm going to parlay someone, it's going to be something that feels like a squash match. $1.38 for Ribovics. Don't know. This was lined at 2.5 rounds. Now it's 1.5 rounds. So I'll see what 2.5 rounds is. But Esteban, extremely durable. Elvis Brener, not as durable, but he's very tough. He gets hurt a lot. He gets busted up a lot. Guran beat the shit out of him. Oral Bay might have dropped him once or twice. Joel Alvarez obviously dropped him many times and knocked him out. So I think Ribovics, this under 1.5, it's kind of annoying. Will it happen in under 1.5? We'll see. I don't know. Again, they know what they're doing with these lines. Chris Duncan versus Mateusz Rebecki. This is a good fight. All right, Rebecki really should be knocking on the door to be ranked. I don't know what they're waiting for. I mean, look at the guys. Let's just look at Rebecki's level of competition in the UFC. Nick Fiore is the only bum that he fought. Then he gets Loic Radzabanov, right? And if you're a casual, you can be forgiven for not knowing Loic. The guy's a PFL animal, right? Knocks him out. Roswell Roberts, whatever, a bum. I think that was short notice again. Then Diego Ferreira loses to him. No shame in that. Diego Ferreira at almost 40, still going strong. The guy has fraud checked many, many dudes. And he beat the shit out of Diego, then gassed. And then Maidebek Oralbai. Like, what a brawl that was. He almost lost that fight, even though he beat the shit out of Oralbai. It was a split. Probably shouldn't have been a split, but just that fight is going to age so well. I don't know if it's how long it's going to be before someone else actually beats Oralbai properly at lightweight. Like this guy's wrestling and cardio and hardware is top notch. I reckon top 5, top 3 in all of lightweight, off the top of my head. Right, so I get why old mate Rebecca is minus 200. He should be a level above. You know, if he beats Chris Duncan, I'll just give him the 15th ranking. Imagine Rebecca versus Bahamondes, the dude that's chinny and that can't stuff a takedown, you know, against Rafael Fiziev. Imagine what Rebecca would do to him. You know, Chris Duncan's been doing all right. He's been winning fights. People have been fading him every single fight. He's a massive underdog. He's got this big Steve Gilly now that he's just spamming on everyone and submitting dudes. Apparently, Grant Dawson taught him. Right, ran through Jordan Vucenic, submitted Bellagio Oki. Yeah, Nula Schmooze, it's okay, not a bad win. Omar Morales, very close. But it's a good win. It's 4-1 in the UFC. Manuel Torres, me and my boy Dogfather faded him there, pick him, ran through him. But yeah, Rebecca should do it, man. Rebecca should do it. But I'm not going to be so quick to underestimate Chris Duncan. He's got power and he's got hardware. But he is a bit hittable. That's the issue. Now, Rebecca's been a long time black belt, but can he dive into a guillotine? Anything is possible in the UFC. As I mentioned last week, I feel like we're getting into some crazy variance times in the UFC. It's important to look at trends. You know, last year it was no totals were hitting, all the favorites were winning. This year, even in January and February, I remember I was down and I didn't play any totals, unders, and I didn't play any dogs because of what happened the year before. And all the dogs and all the unders were hitting. And I was like, damn, I gotta switch it up. It's a new trend. Now I feel like the unders are hitting, everything's going under, and like really, really old, untrustworthy dogs are hitting as well. So there's some volatility. So can Chris Duncan win? He probably can. Under 1.5 rounds, barely plus money, plus 130. Under 2.5 rounds is pick him. Man, it's just a weird fight. Rebecca almost knocked out Oralbai. That could be it. Under 2.5 rounds. Pick him. That should probably be minus money. Probably should be minus money. Alrighty. And now we get to this main event that they scrambled to make Tatsuro Taira, Hyung Song Park. I mean, I'm not completely against this. They took Park away from Steve Erceg, and they gave Steve Ode Osborne. Now, I would rather this than move Steve Erceg to Tatsuro Taira because honestly, if that happened, I reckon Erceg would lose 4 in a row and all his hype would go, and I reckon he'll be cut from the UFC. As good as he is, I think UFC really mismanaged Steve Erceg. Poor guy. You know, but he doesn't care. He likes to challenge himself. So I think Park is good enough to kind of keep this competitive. I know some people are laying chalk on Taira already. Last time I laid chalk on Taira, like 2,500, he let me down versus Royval. And he had all the dominant rounds. Even in the round that he was hurt, he ended up taking Royval's back and backpacked him till the end. But, you know, Royval being a weasel, he did it. He somehow did it. So, you know, it is what it is. Yeah, I mean, I haven't really taped it, but I do think Park is really good. You know, he handled Carlos Hernandez the way you should. Other than that, you know, Shannon Ross, whatever, almost a useless win. He's got good hands. He's got a really good rear naked choke. I would like to think that he's good on the ground, that he can defend against Taira's onslaught. He has been dropped a bunch. You know, Tip 1, Top Noi dropped him, Choi dropped him. These guys do have okay power. So maybe Taira can drop him because Taira does have good striking himself. I don't want to say dog or pass because it is a big step up. Don't know. It's an interesting fight. Taro should be the favorite. But, I mean, at least we get a main event. 12 fights. The way this card is going, something else is going to fall off this card, let's be honest. But that's it. I mean, going through it for the early tees, what's sticking out here? The Bunez under 2.5 rounds, maybe. Vieira, Goro pass. Nakamura, I don't know. Pulev, Nick Klein, who the hell knows. Danny Silva has to have some value, but will I play it? Zaleski's minus 200, disgusting. Ribovics, disgusting. Rebecki, I might play Rebecki, minus 200. If he loses to Chris Duncan, then the world is freezing over. That's about it. Let me go through the questions. I'll be out of here. Nick Rodriguez, Ribovics by knockout. I could see it. SC for all. Which favorite is most likely to lose and we all feel like idiots afterwards? Rebecki seems like the better fighter, but Duncan is peaking and their teammates and he's better. Their teammates and he's better? I mean, do we know that Duncan is better? Oh, bigger. Sorry, my bad. My bad. I mean, he's taller, but Rebecki is huge. Like, just because he's short doesn't mean he's a small guy. Like, Rebecki ain't making featherweight, my friend. I don't think he's ever made featherweight, and I don't think he ever will. I'm going back 5 years here, 10 years. Catchweight. He actually fought above lightweight. Nah, Rebecki's huge, man. In terms of how solid he is. If I'm going to pick a favorite that's going to lose, I mean, Piero Rodriguez or Carla Rosa, if we're playing it safe, and women's that are going to drop the ball like they always do. If we want to go for a big upset in terms of chalkiness, I reckon maybe Danny Silva can upset Vallejos. It's going to be a striking fight. Who knows? This is the early tee, so there's not much tape. Nick, Oral Bite can't strike. I mean, he can strike. He's dropped a bunch of people. He's got underrated Neanderthal power, you know. He will sit on his punches at least. All right, that's about it. Can't say that I have too many reads after doing this early tease, but I'm glad I did it. You know, I'm taping 1FC right now, high level card, 4 MMA fights. PFL I started taping. It's August. I'm just going to tread lightly, you know, not do something stupid. This is not at 2 a.m. like last time, so I should at least be quite rested for this card for live betting, not make any stupid mistakes. We'll see. We'll bide our time. We'll look for the good plays and we'll lock them in. Right? Leave a comment if you already have some plays. Like and subscribe if you haven't.